I'm Sophie Sanders. I create in diverse art media, and my practice is increasingly focused on our interdependence and achieving a sense of peace and buoyancy. My mandala compositions invoke tranquility and harmony in response to the chaos, violence, and suffering I see all around me. Also, they are a way of controlling the ruminations of my mind. Art, yoga, and dance are meditative practices which go hand in hand with the process of making mandalas. A mandala, originating from the word circle in Sanskrit, has been described as a magic circle, a symmetrical diagram and symbol of cosmic forces that supports meditation and provides pathways to self-discovery, amongst related definitions. Mandalas are constructed from nested shapes, linear elements, and patterns that have specific meanings. The colors within mandalas are symbolic and associated with chakras or energy centers in Buddhism. Author and photographer Peter Van Ham notes that from time immemorial, Indians have used the circle as a symbol of unity, balance, and infinity. And throughout the world, the circle and its central point have been given the symbolic meaning of the sacred in the broadest sense. Mandalas are found in the art of Hinduism and Buddhism, and have been associated with similar circular compositions from diverse cultures throughout the world, such as Native American cosmograms, the imagery of Jewish Kabbalah, Catholic rose windows, Islamic tessellations, and sacred African geometry, to name a few. Peter Van Ham writes in his book, Mandala in Search of Enlightenment, not only those in India, but people in diverse cultures have felt and still feel a strong need to give concrete expression to the symbolic content and meaning of a circle through movement, dance, circumambulation, design, drawing, painting, and architecture. This simple yet highly complex geometry has inspired humans to expand their definitions of their own greater plane of existence. I have witnessed Tibetan monks create detailed sacred mandalas using colored sand to express their specific cultural and religious iconography. But my mandalas are purely subjective and improvisational, and the symbols I used for this project are my own invention. For the Here and Now Mandalas project, I concentrated on themes of promoting peace, affirming our interdependence, and preventing further damage to the natural environment from climate change. My process of making mandalas with non-toxic aquarium-grade sand and stencils derives from years of experience as a printmaker. I love drawing freehand with the sand, but I also like the precision of sprinkling the sand through a stencil. The snow is such a receptive surface for the material, and after a little while it becomes embossed with the image. In March 2021, the first year of the Mandalas project, I memorialized those who had died and the great suffering due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I worked from dawn to dusk to create a 100-foot wide fire and ice mandala on Franklin Pierce Lake with assistance from fire dancer Nova and other volunteers. I used colored sand and cardboard stencils to create funerary and medical symbols, such as Adinkra symbols from Ghana and the ancient Greek caduceus. The site specificity of the ice was part of a concept to bring together elements of fire and water in recognizing the cycles of life and death. In March 2022, the second version of the project, entitled the Now Mandala on Franklin Pierce Lake, took place and included a contraption called the O Tractor that was designed by Johnny Bolster to draw the circular form of the mandalas by expelling wood ash. In 2023, a new version of Here and Now Mandalas public art project was supported by a grant from the Friends of Public Art in Keene, New Hampshire. This third variation of the series at Franklin Pierce Lake attracted a significant community attendance and engaged community members in the creation of 20 12-foot mandalas on the frozen lake. The concept of now was generated by an intention to be increasingly present and improvisational. I worked with assistants Phylicia Roberts and Chantal Grondin, who also danced in a piece that I choreographed, and we were accompanied by musicians Ezra and Owen Landis. In fall 2023, MaXT Makerspace in Peterborough hosted me as an artist in residence in preparation for Here and Now Mandalas. I made over 30 laser-cut wood stencils inspired by the amazing native New Hampshire wildlife, hand gestures, and invented symbols to prepare for the project. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote from a sermon of 1967 epitomizes some of the ideas I have explored. He said, "It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." The National Wildlife Foundation used this quote to fight for the preservation of wildlife and public lands. I took Here and Now Mandalas to a much larger and multi-generational community and transformed the public space of the park into an art and dance environment. Robin Hood Park, which sits on Abenaki Native land, is a 110-acre park and cherished public space in Keene. In 1889, George A. Wheelock sold a piece of land known as the Children's Wood to the city of Keene, and this was eventually combined with Robin Hood Park Forest to form the park. To engage with the open spaces of the park, similar to the frozen surfaces of Franklin Pierce Lake, I related the themes of interdependence with the goal of preserving the natural environment. The Dalai Lama has observed, interdependence is a fundamental law of nature. Even tiny insects survive by cooperating with each other. Our own survival is so dependent on the help of others that a need for love lies at the very core of our existence. Working in Robin Hood Park presented the new challenge of inviting the Keene community to reconsider it as a creative space and to heighten their awareness of the local species native to this area. I collaborated with the choreographer Riley Lynch of Peterborough's Weathermakers Dance Company, and we responded to the amphitheater and surrounding areas of the park. The movement, as well as imagery, included gestures of animals. Winter in New Hampshire is mostly characterized by winter sports, and to bring people together around color and performance was unusual for this type of space. Working with mandalas requires one to think about symmetry and the challenge of creating a balanced and diverse composition, but bearing in mind that the imperfections within the symmetry give it movement and vitality. The improvisational nature of making a mandala is a perfect metaphor for the creative process and the struggles of being adaptable to life's obstacles. Dancing around the mandalas is the natural evolution of the project. I've always thought of dance as drawing in space. The circular nature of the mandalas lends itself to dances done within a circle, such as many of the African and African diasporic dances that I have studied over many years. The Weathermakers dancers are an adventurous group, and they were excited to perform outdoors at Robin Hood Park. Riley Lynch choreographed the dance framework with a recurring motif of a bird opening its wings, turning, and closing in on itself. There was also a lot of improvisation and a sense of trusting one another, embodying our interdependence. We responded very specifically to the landscape architecture by staging our movement on the various levels of the park. Musicians Ezra and Owen Landis reflected and complemented the dance and the changes in space as they followed us and played as we moved. Vulnerability was an aspect of the performance, and the idea that we depend upon and respond to one another in the movement sequence. I really connected with these concepts because the mandala is an ephemeral project, something that is a means to a deeper self-realization, transformation that starts from one's own mind and extends to how you behave in the world. The ancient Indian concept of ahimsa, or doing the least harm, is evidenced in the way we treat others, respect the natural environment, and in the small ways we can be more conscious of our impact. It is fundamental to the idea of art for people's sake, a concept integral to the Black arts movement of the 1960s and 70s, and deeply analyzed by scholar Rebecca Zorak. My extensive study of African diaspora art history has informed much of my work and ideology. Another theme was that of breath, and we did a communal tree breath in which we responded to a tree that was literally growing out of a stone wall along the side of the amphitheater. At the Ice and Snow Festival in downtown Keene, we spontaneously engaged with the public for several hours, especially families with young children. Our goal was to present an art form that isn't a part of the regional culture and had to be introduced, and provide a new way of looking at the snow as a surface for drawing and creating in a painterly way. While working with the children and families, we talked about the stencil imagery, such as loons, bobcats, newts, coyotes, and wild turkeys, and the goal of protecting these animals. The Here and Now Mandalas project enabled participants to re-envision Robin Hood Park as a space for contemporary art and dance, and provided an opportunity for community members to learn about mandalas, heighten an awareness of the species native to this area, and to participate in a unique process for public art.